What is up, everybody? Welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be going over what is on the ballot in North Dakota for this coming up 2024 election in November. So we have 5 measures to go over. I'm going to be going over who's the Senate run, the Congress run, the governor, and the president, obviously. And then I won't be going over judges, but I'll pop the name of the judges on the screen right now. Those are the judges we're also voting on. I just didn't think it was really relevant because I know they say judges, there's Democratic judges and the Republican judges, but in the end, they're not really associated with political parties. Some of them seem like they are, but they're not supposed to be. So that's why I'm not including them into this. Little background in North Dakota. We've been historically a red state. I'm pretty sure we have 3 electoral college votes because our population is really low. This is our population right there. Not really ideal. So in the presidential race, we really don't mean much. No president candidate's gonna come here and tour the place, just to get our votes. It's 3 out of 271 to win. So yeah, I'm gonna go over the measures here. I got some notes. I got my sources from here. I took any political bias out that I thought was not gonna be relevant in this, because this is completely neutral. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm just telling you the factual evidence of, what the voting's on from measure 1 through 5, and then who's running, whether Democrat or Republican. I do not care. You can fight in the comments if you want. Don't involve me in it because I don't care that much. And I know in the comments there probably will be it'll be like a bloodbath of comments. That's the way it is in the country. The political scene. But anyways, don't involve me in it. And one more thing before we get into it is I want to thank all you guys for the last 5 uploads. The last 5 uploads I've had. I don't know if you can hear the buzzing. There's a bee right next to you. The last 5 uploads I've had have gone insane. 4 of the 5 have 1,000 views now. Yeah, and I've getting 100 subscribers since then, and it's been really good. Thank you for that. So let's get right into it. So for measure 1 here, we have a change of outdated language. So this is just make things politically correct, if you know what I mean. So let's say there's a school for the blind and dumb, or the deaf and dumb, they'll change it to the school for the deaf and hard of learning, that type of stuff. And this applies to more universities and institutions, government funded things, rather than private business, because private business is private business. In the United States, it's a big deal that private business can do what they want. I mean, with restrictions, but it's not going to stop a private business from naming whatever they want, right? Here's number 2. So number 2 is the requirements for a petition. So with this one, I've heard from many people that it will make a petition harder to get, but on the contrary, I heard that the petitions will be less useless. So there will be less pointless petitions, and more time for the group who decides on petitions to get good petitions in there. So this would make it where you can have one subject in a petition instead of a whole bunch of them. It would also make it where you need 2% of the state's population to agree on the petition for it to go into the voting, right? And also it would require certain people to be able to vote on it, right? So the qualifications to vote on certain things may be a little bit different based on if it applies to you or not, Measure 3. So measure 3 talks about the legacy fund and distribution of the funds. So in my notes here, what I have, it is a distribute from legacy fund without expending the principal. So they just want to change the way they can distribute the money before we would actually need it. The legacy funds, so if our energy in North Dakota were to falter, the economy, like the oil and stuff, if the oil dries up, then we'd be able to have a little bit of money to back us up, and yeah, all that. Number 4. So number 4 here is a big one, and I assume a couple other states probably have this too, but I've seen signs, in Fargo saying no to 4, yes to 4, and just basically this is the big one they're fighting over, right? This is the big deal here, okay? Number 4, property tax, which I assumed with property tax, you'd assume it'd be a big deal because taxes, right? People don't like taxes. So it's a cut on property tax, and so measure 4 is a cut on property tax, and then it wants to put the revenue replacement plan onto state political subdivisions, so they'd have to figure out a plan to cover all the lost money North Dakota has from cutting property taxes. So that's why it's a big deal. I heard, in all the ads, it's been saying $3.35 billion gap, and that's saying no to 4, because it would create a $3.35 billion gap, which would be really hard to cover, just in general. That's not an opinion. I mean, how would we cover $3.35 billion? That's what the state political subdivisions would have to figure out. That's the part of it in there. So, and then number 5, this is basic. It's been voted on since the dawn of time. We legalize the use of weed, THC, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so a bunch of other states are probably doing this too. This one's been on the ballot since I was younger. You know, I used to see signs on fences that said yes to weed and stuff like that. It hasn't been approved yet, but we'll see. In this coming up election, it would make it legal, but it still would not be legal to drink and drive or smoke weed and drive, because it prohibits your ability to react fast, you know. So it is like a DUI, you know. Now we're going to go on to the actual people. So in the House of Representatives, we have, as a Democrat, I'm just going to call him Mr. Hammer. Here's his first name and everything. I don't want to mess up his name. So Mr. Hammer, he's the Democrat House nominee. He's a U.S. Marine U.S. Marine Reserve for 20 years, from 1990 to 2010. He went to the U.S. Naval Academy for schooling, and his running opponent is the Republican Julie Federcock, who's been in the House for 11 years, 2013 to now. If she were to win again, she'd have a lot more years, you know. So she went to UND. And yeah, so she's been in the North Dakota political system for a long time. And then for Senate, we have Kevin Cramer, who's a big name around here. He has had 5 years in the Senate. He went to University of Mary. Yeah, and he's the Republican. And for the Democrat, we have Katrina Christensen, she was a professor. She went to University of Nebraska and Iowa State. And now she's joining into the political scene. She won the Democratic nomination here. And then for governor, this is big Doug Burgum, who was our previous governor. He ran for president. He didn't get any support at all. Pretty much all North Dakota people, less than 1% of the votes for the primary. So he ended up dropping out and joining Trump. Wanted to get a vice president position, but now, because Vance beat him out, he wants to get a cabinet position with Trump. So he's going to try doing that, so he won't be in our Senate, Congress, or governor position. So if Trump wins, he could get a cabinet position or a position with him. So that's where he's taken his political career. So his predecessor is one of these two people. So Kelly Armstrong, who was in the House from 2018 to 2022, who went to UND. He's a common name around here as well. He's running as the Republican to replace Doug Burgum for governor. And then his running opponent is the Democrat Merrill Pipcorn, who went to Concordia and NDSU, and then in 2016 won the North Dakota Democratic member incumbent, if I said that right. So yeah, he's been in the political scene a little bit, just hasn't had like a high position like House or Senate like Kelly Armstrong has. So yeah, and then obviously we're going on to president. You have Harris and Trump. I mean, what else do you see? Vance and Walz, you know. So it's Kamala, Walz, Trump, Vance. That's what it is. I mean, you know that. If you live in the United States or any other place that's relevant to it, you know that's who's running. And now let me say predictions. So my predictions, these are predictions, not who I'm running for, is that Trump will win because we've historically been a red state. And then I also have Kevin Cramer winning for the Senate position. I have Kelly Armstrong winning for the governor position, just because both those guys have had plenty of experience. So I assume they would be able to, they would win, you know. I think Kevin Cramer will win the Senate position, as he's had 5 years of experience already in the position and has a common name around here. And for governor, I think Kelly Armstrong will also win, because looking at like the polls and stuff, he is very far ahead already. I know polls aren't 100% accurate, but when he's got such a huge lead, I'd assume that he would win. He also is a common name around here. He has experience in the House, so people around here know his name. Again, these are not my opinion, my political views, just who I think is going to end up winning a prediction. For the House, I think Mr. Hammer will win. Marine for 20 years, you can respect that. And I don't know, I just have a feeling that he will win. And then let's go into the measures. I think measure 5, weed will get shot down again. It's been shot down forever. This state doesn't really like the idea of it. Measure 4, I'm not sure. That one's actually going to be really, really interesting, because I think a lot of people will the reason I'm making the video is because I think a lot of people go into it and say, oh, lower property tax, that's a great idea, but then they don't think of how we're going to replace the tax, right? And that's why I made this video. I just want I want to tell you rather than you have to read through these long articles about it. I have no clue who's going to win Measure 4 though. And then for Measure 3, I'm not sure on that one either. Measure 2 for petitions, I think that one will get shot down. And then Measure 1 for outdated language, I think it'll win because it's just outdated language. It's not like a big deal like Measure 4 is. So, yeah. I also didn't go over districts. Districts are like pockets of populations. So like if you're in District 47, 46, you know, then you have people to vote on as well. So that's also going to be on the ballot, but that's all up to your district. Districts are, you'd have to look up districts. I don't know too much about them. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informational and got you thinking more before going into voting in about 18 days or something like that. It's crazy, you know. So 18 days, we're going into voting, or 15 days. I'm not sure actually when the vote is. So whether you're voting online, paper, or in person, make sure you vote. Use your vote. You have a free vote. Go do it. As my government teacher used to say, you cannot bitch about politics if you do not vote on it. So use your vote, whether you're 18 or 73. Thank you.